Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners. This episode is going to be completely different. If you're looking for our content on child-free life, child-free finances, this is not exactly going to be it. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about what it was like and what it took to get on the TEDx stage to talk about the child-free economy. I just finished it today. It's 8 o'clock on Friday, and I'm trying to kind of download everything and what it was like, and I thought I would share it with you. And in full transparency, I will tell you, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. And I say that as someone who, I worked as a firefighter and paramedic. I've been in burning buildings. I've been shot at. I've held people's lives in my hand, and this was scarier. I'll get to why, but that's kind of the punchline, so give me a minute. As a company, Childfree Wealth and Childfree Trust, we've been working on how do we get the word out. And how do we get the word out about the child-free community, what we do, who we are, and really that child-free people exist? And I know that sounds a little harsh, but the bottom line is a lot of the child-free content is really targeted at child-free people. That's where it should start. This was the question about, all right, how do we start a conversation so that if child-free people are 25% of the U.S., how do we talk to the other 75% and say, hey, we're here. And this is how it's going to impact you and your life. And this TEDx was that opportunity. For those people that don't know TED, so TED's been around for a long time. I can't even remember how long. But it's that national conference, and it's really the point is it's about ideas worth spreading. If you haven't watched a TED Talk yet, you need to. They're awesome. For my clients that are wandering, doing the sabbatical, trying to figure out what's next in their life, I tell them, watch TED Talks. So TED is this big conference, national stage, and then they have these spin-offs, what they call TEDx, which are locally sponsored events. You usually end up talking at the TEDx stage first, and then if you do really good, you might end up in the TED stage. When you hear TED Talks, there's a good chance people are kind of mixing the two together. Because what happens is the talk gets put on YouTube. This is where you see those viral videos. This is one of my favorites is Brene Brown's work on vulnerability. There's a whole bunch of great TED Talks, whatever it is. But a lot of them come from these local events and then take off. A TEDx event is locally hosted, small venue, but the video is what matters. So about 6 months ago, and I was trying to figure out the exact time, but about 6 months ago, I saw an article. And the article said that Alabama had hit a demographic cliff. What that means is Alabama is having more deaths than births. Now, we do some work in Alabama because our trust company partner for Childfree Trust is out of Alabama. So I happen to be watching what's going on there. I said, all right, let me make a pitch. The pitch was, you know what? You're talking about this demographic cliff, but you're missing the big issue. The big issue is 25% of the population is child-free, and that number is going up, and you're not going to be able to convince us to change our mind. Now, let's be real. Pitching that topic in Alabama was not what I thought would happen. I didn't think it would actually go anywhere, but you take a shot. Come to find out, TEDx Wilson Park is where I ended up doing the talk. They had 369 applications for 7 speakers. That's a pretty tough audience to get through. And I pitched this talk kind of we'll see what happens. I get a random email saying, hey, would you like to set up your speaker interview? I was like, sure. I didn't know anything was going on. And I met with somebody who had actually become my speaker coach in the end. And we talked about it. And I said, look, let's be transparent. I'm going to be talking about a politically charged topic. And it may or may not go over well with your audience. So please help me understand. And come to find out, TEDx Wilson Park has done a lot of good work with embracing ideas that don't fit the community they're in or the state they're in, which is amazing. And they gave me examples and said, hey, if we can help other people through this, we can help you, we can create this, that'd be great. So I got accepted. I just looked into my email. May 5th. It's now September 12th. From May 5th through September 12th, you had to go through a pile of work to do this. And I'll tell you, after I've done this TEDx talk, the one thing I walk away with is the amount of preparation and the amount of work that goes into these is just insane. We had a weekly due date. So that weekly due date started with, you got to get a script. And then the script's got to get polished. And then it gets feedback. And then it gets feedback from the committee. And then you do a live video. And then you keep working through, and there's revisions and revisions and revisions. And we were back and forth on, well, how do we word this? And how do we not sound offensive? And how do we just, and you end up with this beautiful script for the talk. And I really have to thank Amy, who was my coach, and Dale, who was our other coach, who was kind of like the coaches of the coach, for giving me all great feedback. I'll tell you, there was a little moment in there about like a month or so in where I said the draft and it didn't go over well. You know, it's kind of like, nope, that's not the right approach. And we actually got worried because when we do the discussions as with speakers, they're like, look, if you're not making progress, if you're not following our feedback, we can pull your talk. Whew, I'm going to do all this work and have my talk pulled. And let's be real, it's in this political environment that I'm trying to figure out and walk through, and how do we word this? So I was really excited when they said, yep, I'm good with the script. I had to send them a whole costume thing, and they had some images of it. I actually sent them a picture of what I wanted to wear. And if you've seen my headshot, that's kind of what I have as, a certain thing I wear for speaking. It's a coat that I love, and kind of checkered coat is great. I took it to a conference this past week, and on my flight back, we were delayed. Well, Southwest left my luggage out in the rain, and my entire luggage was soaked, including the jacket and setup that I had gotten approved by TEDx. So, yeah, I was starting off on a rough foot. And I've had these two conferences back, and I knew I had this TED Talk, and then I go back to another conference. It's a crazy month. Besides the fact we're launching our new Childfree Trust product in October. I mean, like, it is a busy, crazy month. I started practicing, and you have to memorize the script, essentially verbatim. And this is where I got to be vulnerable. If you've been following, you probably have heard me say it, or I've talked about it, or if not, you've guessed. I'm neurospicy or neurodivergent or whatever you want to call it. Technically I'd be diagnosed with ADD plus a who knows a what, but I'm neurospicy. And what I learned is, as somebody with ADD, memorizing a verbatim script for a talk like this is hard. I've given lots of talks. I enjoy speaking. I enjoy being in front of the crowds. I enjoy sharing the word. But this was probably one of the harder things I've ever had to do. And I broke it apart, and I tried all my tools, and I had memorization tools, and I wrote things out by hand, and got there to the point where on Wednesday, for the talk on Friday, I'm in a pretty good place. I've done what I can to memorize it. I'm still kind of wordsmithing a little bit here and there because of the written script and what you say. It's going to be slight variations, but we're there. And I was at a conference, and I was talking about, hey, I'm going to go do this TED Talk. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to Alabama and talk about the child-free population. I'm going to tell them you can't change our minds. I'm going to talk about how in Tennessee, they're now requiring by law that in all schools teach the success script, which means you go to school, get married, and have kids. I'm going to tell them that doesn't work. I'm going to tell them these initiatives to, encourage people to have kids. The White House saying 5K doesn't work. And that what we need to do is we need to dump our current capitalist model focused on GDP and focused on growth. And we need to adopt a model of sustainable growth. Now, by the way, the actual reality is there's two options. So with 25% of the U.S. being child-free, there's one of HSBC's global analysts, James Pomeroy, says, all right, within 20 years, we'll see the GDP drop by about 4%. What that really means is we'll be in a sustained recession or depression for the foreseeable future. And actually, some data just came out today that with a lot of the immigrants that were exited from the U.S., that could be even worse, where we can, in the U.S., have zero population growth by like 2030, 2031. which really means the economy is going to get hit and going to get hit hard. But there's only two solutions to that. One solution is we embrace immigration and we say, all right, let's bring people in legally. Let's have them grow our workforce. Or we embrace sustainable growth. Sustainable growth really being growth that's in harmony with the world. That's really about low or slow or less growth or even no growth over time, which challenges just about everything. So I want you to picture this. I'm going to go to Alabama. I'm going to talk about child-free people. I'm going to talk about how you can't change our minds. I'm going to talk about immigration and immigration being a solution. And when they don't like that, I'm going to talk about, then throw away capitalism and let's try a new version. And now, by the way, it's not literally that far, but let's go with it. And I'm going to throw real examples. Like, for example, one of the ones I used on our social media, we always get haters. This is what it is. One of my favorite examples, I got a collection of mean tweets is, well, it's great that you child-free people are happy, but our country can't fund and defend itself without future taxpayers and warriors. That's legit. That's what I've gotten for feedback. And I brought that up to the group because, of course, they all obviously had kids just to have taxpayers and warriors, which is not the case. But that's what our system requires. It requires people to come in and to keep consuming, and that's not sustainable. The White House is trying a whole bunch of things, and actually this week, the Heritage Foundation put out a report that says we need to have a Manhattan Project to encourage more hetero marriages and babies. Oh yeah, I talked about that too. You want to see like a list of things you do not want to talk about in the Deep South? I pretty much hit them all. And I had this talk and I'm looking at what I'm talking about. And talking to a colleague, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go give this talk in Alabama. This is what I'm going to do. And as I walked through what the talk was, he's like, you sure you want to do that? And I jokingly said to him, well, I don't know. My tires might get slashed. Who knows? But somebody's got to do it. And I might be overreacting a little bit, and that's okay. But the reality check is, as a company and as a person, we had to create systems to protect us against haters, against stalkers, against personal risk. Because when you're out there talking about this stuff, there is a personal risk. So on Wednesday, I'm in a good place. I'd like to tweak a little bit, I always got to memorize a little better, but I had spent months, I'm talking like 4 months on this script. I'm in a good place. Not great, but in a good place. I can do this. Found a new jacket to wear, found a new suit I ended up wearing. I'm like, this is not what I want. This is not perfect, but I'll make it work. It's one of those things as a neurospicy person, you have a whole plan, you have a whole structure, and you're like, I'm going to go do this, and it's going to work for me. I have to set up systems. I love talking in front of the groups. I hate the socialization before and after. I can do deep conversations with strangers. I hate talking about the weather. I'm a hardcore introvert at my soul. Like meeting random people and talking about the weather just sucks away my energy. Standing in front of the group, delivering, I get energy. So it's like one of those things you have to have a system. You have to have a plan. I had a system. I had a plan. Had it all set up. So my plane lands and I get a text from our COO, Steph, and she says, yeah, be careful out there. I'm like, what do you mean? Now, I had purposely not gotten Wi-Fi in the plane because I wanted to just focus on memorizing. I didn't know what's going on. She says, oh yeah, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. Now, I disagree with everything I've ever heard Charlie Kirk say. I'm just laying that out there. As a matter of fact, pretty much everything he posts, I would post the opposite. Just kind of how that works. But he got shot while talking about political topics. That's the world we're in. And I was worried about my tires getting slashed. And but you know what? You can replace that. I'm now going to go into Alabama and talk about some of the touchiest topics, the complete opposite of Charlie Kirk. But I'm going to go do that in a weird world where I don't know, are people going to retaliate? What's the issue? No clue. So I started thinking about it and I emailed the TEDx folks and I said, hey, what do you do for security? Their response was, well, we're not adding security, but it's a small community. We know who the people are there. I don't think you'll have a problem. It didn't 100% make me feel better, but I had a choice. It was either I do the talk or I don't. And the talk is a platform. When you have a TEDx talk come out, It's something you can use for press, for books, for other speaking. Like part of our plan is to be talking more to the other 75% and saying, this is what the child-free economy looks like. I'm looking to get on keynote stages at South by Southwest or with big companies or big conferences to talk about child-free life and what happens when child-free people are 25% of the economy. It's a huge topic that's not being talked about. And I'm doing that not to promote the company. I mean, yeah, I guess it will help in the end, but it's really to start a discussion. It's to get outside of the child-free communities and our own internal discussions and get the word out there. So if I didn't do the TEDx talk, then the press plan to go along with it wouldn't happen. Then the speaking plan along with it wouldn't go in. And then we have another podcast we're trying to launch to go with. Like, there's a lot of things riding on this. Let's be fair. If I turned down this one and didn't show up when they had already promoted it, already been there, I'm not getting another one. So that was my Thursday, debating, kind of trying to figure out where it is. Gonna go do it. Really nice team, really good place. Go down Thursday, do the intro meetings, find out all the details. Friday, we now have tech checks and then the actual talk. My head was not in it. My head was worried. I was thinking about my security and safety. And I talked to one of the other speakers, and really nice woman. We were having a conversation, and I said, hey, this is what I'm talking about. That's where I'm going. A little worried about this. She goes, well, did you bring a bulletproof vest? She wasn't kidding. Like, that was the question. By the way, I didn't. And spoiler alert, I'm here, so there were no issues. But it's one of those reality checks that sets into your head. I even, as I was planning to go down there, I'm like,
Hey, Child-Free Wealth listeners, it's Bree. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure to get on it, where each week we send out information regarding what's going on in the world of child-free life and finances. You can sign up by finding the link in our description.
all right, I got to make sure my estate paperwork's in a good place. My In Case I Love You file is there for my wife. Make sure my finances are in a good place just in case. I don't really expect anything, but this is the world we live in now. And I understand why other people would go, I'm not taking that risk. I really do, because I was damn close. So I got there, did my tech check. That's fine. They didn't comment on my change of clothing. That's cool. And I parked in a parking garage next to the place. And it's a smaller theater. They got 100, 150 people in there. Horseshoe shaped, real intimate. That's cool. I will say that the moment you step on that red dot, if you watch TEDx talks or TED Talks, you know what I'm talking about. There's a red dot in the stage. It gets real. The TEDx sign is behind you. That's the gift they gave me. The X behind me, like, it's all there, all the branding. You're like, ooh, this got real. Now, my nerves were on end. I enjoy speaking. I've spoken to crowds of hundreds of people, no problem. I'll take a stage, talk about this child-free stuff. Doesn't matter. I just finished a conference and I'm going to another one. This is what I do, but I don't do a script. I do this podcast. I don't do a script. It just doesn't work for my brain. Now, you put me on top of a stage, you give me a topic, I can go play improv and you will have a massive show. You will enjoy it. You'll learn something. That's a skill I have. But you have a script and you have 10 minutes. It has to be done in that 10 minutes. Actually, they gave me 12 just in case something goes wrong. They even said, well, if you make a mistake, pause, we'll get going, because it's all about the video. If you mess up on stage, it's fine. They can edit it, make you look good. So I said, all right, I'm going to go find some alone time. My wife had come down for the trip with me, and I said to her, look, I apologize. I'm going to go sit in the car, listen to music, review my talk. I need to recenter. I need to get there by myself. I even said to the folks at TEDx, I'm like, look, I'm a heavy introvert. I can either give my energy one place or the other. I need to go on my own. You won't see me until just before my talk. They were cool with that. So I'm sitting in my car most of the day. It's like 4 hours. I got to wait. And I was second to last on the list. And by the way, don't go second or last. I didn't have a choice. But when you go in towards the end, your nerves just keep building. I would have done much better if I was first. Just dive in and do it. So I started overthinking it. And, well, what about this? And how do we wear this? And how do we do? Whew. By the time I got to the stage, I was a bundle of nerves. I just was. It's not a feeling I'm used to. I'm the one who doesn't get frazzled by anything. Yeah, it's one of those things you learn as a medic. You know, you go on scene, you always look like you're in control. You always know what you're doing because other people's lives count on it. This is the first time in a long time, probably decades, I can remember feeling that much fear and nervousness. And I know it's not really about the talk. It's about I'm taking a big risk. My wife is sitting in the front row. What happens if something happens to me on this? And I had a friend. He said, look, I don't think you're really that much risk. You're not really talking about that challenging of a topic. I was like, dude, you have no clue what you're talking about. To many people, this is. And it's one of those things. You watch our social media. We got the haters. We got people making comments all the time, stupid comments. At the Childfree convention, it had to have a troll patrol because people were coming in and make comments and doing things and like doxing people. This is real in this hyper political world. I probably had spun myself up too far. Just going to say that. But everything's on the line. Me, my life, my wife, my company. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't really all on the line, but that's what I went into. So I get up on stage, I get going. I always feed off the crowd. You got some good laughs, got some people reacting, some people applauding, snapping, and excited. I'm like, great. Get about halfway through my talk, lost the second half. Just not in my brain. I finally said to the group, I said, look, I apologize. I'm going to get vulnerable here for a second. In the current world we're in, I'm worried about my own safety. I'm talking about this topic in Alabama. I'm a little worried. Who knows? My tires get slashed. I use that example. Group laughed. They were with me. So just give me one moment. I actually had to pull up my phone, take a look at where I was at, continue, finish the talk. Never have I ever had to do that before. In the end, I think it went well. They'll do a video of it. It'll probably look awesome. They're doing the editing fun. You won't see the nightmare I had. You won't see the stress. I mean, you might. I don't know. Who knows? I might have been shaking from the seats. Whatever. But it'll be out there. And it's done. Now, some folks do other TED Talks. They follow up. They go to the TED stage. Yeah, that is on the bottom of my list. I'm just telling you that right now. Do I want to speak at other places? Yep. Awesome. You work for a big conference, a big company. You want me to come there and talk about child-free economy and what happens? You serve realtors. You want me to talk about how the housing market's going to change because they're child-free? I'm there. It's under my control. It's my talk, my time, my slides, my approach. I think as I'm sitting here, I'm 5 hours after the talk. I'm in a good place. I will tell you, if I had on a Garmin or a Whoop or something, man, I couldn't imagine how high my stress level was or what my blood pressure was or anything else. But I made it. As I reflect on it, I know it's the right choice. As I reflect on it, I'm like, look, maybe it wasn't as much risk as I worried about. I can say that. I also know my limits. I know what I can, what I can't do. Now, here's the bonus. The bonus is, and sometime later, and kind of interesting thing on TED Talks, so the TEDx group sends it to TED, the kind of mothership, and somewhere between like 6 weeks and like 6 months, they post the talk. When the talk comes out, I'm hoping to do everything I can to make it go viral. When it comes out, I'm going to ask you to watch it, comment on it, like it, and share it. Like we're going to have to push it because we've got to get the word out. But the bonus is it's now starting a conversation. I can now talk to other audiences about this child-free economy, how it's going to impact them, how to understand child-free people, why we're not going to change our minds, and all of these other topics because it gave a platform. It did what it was supposed to do. Now, for anyone listening, if you ever want to do your own TED Talk, please don't use my experience. I'm just not a great example of this. Everything went into the wrong place. It worked. It came out. The video will be fine. I probably should have just never even made this video, never shared it to you. I should have just been macho and pretended like it didn't bother me. I give you the honest thing. If you have an idea worth spreading, you want to talk about child-free people, you want to share your story, do it. You're going to have to apply to 15, 20, 30, 50 shows, I don't know, to find the right one to accept it. You're going to have to go through the process and get the words right and get it there. But we need to start talking outside of the child-free community and start talking to the other 75% of the U.S. about what we do. While I was at a conference last week, the Heritage Foundation report came out talking about this project that they have to convince people to have hetero marriage earlier, have babies. There's supposedly an appendix in there that says single folks are bad, all that. We immediately jumped on it, did some news. I ended up on C-SPAN talking about it. That didn't worry me. Like, seriously, going toe-to-toe with the Heritage Foundation, I guess I'll do that. This did, and it was just timing. It was just a situation. It was just mindset. It's my own head trash. I can admit that. At the same point, it's starting a conversation. That's the goal.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.